Hello, Seka.
Sorry, one sec.
You know it's rude to do it on your phone when people are talking to you.
Normie Seka sent me some leaks, and I'm just flipping through them right now.
Did you see the character that looks like Zhongli and Andrew put together?
Yeah, he's lit.
Can't you just wait for the 1.6 live stream that you'll be streaming live on Twitch?
Yeah, I could do that. But, you know, just text it to me, so I was like, whatever.
It's just a tweet, get over it.
Yeah, man, it's just a tweet. No big deal.
Leaks are wrong. But theories, though.
Bruh. Okay, so we all know that Eula's freaking busted. There's a lot of different weapons for her. There's a lot of different things you can use with her. And she's really good for both free-to-play and pay-to-play. And everybody likes her. Unfortunately, though, she is a, you know... No, she's just great. The only problem with Eula is she came right after the Zhongli banner. So everybody that pulled on Zhongli and needed Zhongli now is like... Damn, I wish I had Eula. Zhongli, why did you have to do this, bro? Your rerun, Brenna? Bruh. So everybody that pulled on Zhongli the first time around and was like, big smart brain, I like this character, I need a tank character. And then now is like, oh yeah, I can summon for Eula. In 1.6, there is going to be a really, really good character that is going to be a 4-star character. Now, of course, a lot of you guys know about the Electro buffs and all the cool changes that are going to be happening for Electro. And everyone has been talking about Electro this, Electro that. But what I wanted to mention is that the most busted character in 1.6 is not going to be Electro. In 1.6, the most busted, broke-ass character is going to have green hair, have a floaty thing that flies up in the air, be kawaii, and she throws a wind nugget. So the reason she is gonna be so freaking busted is currently she's already really good, but she's getting even better. Now, why is she getting better? So I'll go into that in a little bit of detail. So Sucrose, if you did not know, is a character that is going to scale very heavily on elemental mastery for transferring damage. This character, of course, will transfer 50 elemental mastery after triggering a swirl effect, which will happen on her normal attacks, her E ability, or her Q ability, or elemental skill or elemental burst, and will transfer 50 elemental mastery to your party. In addition to that, she is also going to transfer more elemental mastery to your party based on if she swirls with her ultimate ability, which is her elemental burst or elemental skill. If she ends up swirling with those, 20% of her elemental mastery will actually transfer to other characters. Now, what's really cool about Sucrose is that she is an Animo character. And because she's an Animo character, a lot of people have been strictly built directly into elemental mastery to boost their damage on their other teams. And because they've done that, the build for Sucrose is pretty straightforward. I don't have it on right now for some reason. It's a 4-piece viridescent set. Now, each of the viridescent pieces are going to be going with an elemental mastery roll with energy recharge gains, crit gains, etc., whatever you can get. Personally, what I would do is go elemental mastery on the main stat, energy recharge, and attack resistance for the overall build, and actually skip crit chance and crit damage entirely. And that's what I would personally do. Now, unfortunately, that's like a really difficult build to do, and not a lot of people are able to do it. But, you know, you might actually have the artifacts. And the reason this might be a really good choice for the Animo Goblet and overall Goddess Sucrose, and why this would be a great build overall for Sucrose, is because transferring that elemental mastery over to for friendlies is going to be really helpful. So what's also interesting about the Viridescent Venerous set is a lot of people have been holding off on farming this domain because they hate this other artifact set called the Maiden set. The Maiden set is the bane of existence for everyone who wants to farm the Viridescent Venerous set because no one wants to build a healer with a healing boost skill. Now, in 1.6, potentially, there is also a really cool thing happening where you could potentially, don't know this for sure because if I did know it for sure, that would be leaking, but I am making a theory. What if they came out with a really cool way to transfer artifacts from one kind of artifact to another kind of artifact with totally new roles? Then the maiden pieces would be good, right? But in addition to that, there is going to be a huge buff happening in 1.6. Now, for the confirmed information, I don't want to give the leaked information, but I've seen it and it is all positive for this. Back on the 29th of April, Miyoyo posted a thing about who is getting buffed in 1.6. And in 1.6, if you're not aware, Electrocharge, Superconduct, Overload, and swirl, as well as shatter, I'll go over that in a minute, will be increased, which means elemental mastery for these characters is going to be really good. So if you're looking at Sucrose specifically, she's already a character that does very well on elemental mastery and can transfer her elemental mastery to the rest of your team while also lowering the resistances of that team. If you don't know how the resistance lowering works, it's from the 4-piece Viridius and Venera set, where you essentially lower the swirled elemental resistance for 10 seconds by 40%. And if you guys are using Eula, as we talked about today, the Superconduct mechanic is essentially the exact same thing. Superconduct is the ability to lower the physical resistance by 40%, whereas Viridius and Venera is the way to lower elemental resistance by 40%. So Anemo characters basically provide Superconduct for elemental damage. Okay, now going into this, base shield absorption and crystallize is going to be increased, but the damage bonus provided by elemental mastery for major reactions is going to be increased, and that's going to be increased beyond level 60. So, if the damage bonus from elemental reactions is going to be increased for elemental characters like Anemo, that means the best 4-star that's going to be coming out swinging is the character that's already scaling on elemental mastery. That's going to be crazy mad lead damage for transferring EM. The build for the way for Sucrose, the best in slot weapon for Sucrose. It's a pretty straightforward weapon. It is not the Favonius Codex, but you could use it. It is going to be the Sacrificial Fragments. If you can get this weapon, it is the best in slot weapon for Sucrose. The only other option is the Mappa Mare, and that is a decent weapon for her for the Elemental Mastery alone. It is not the best weapon for her, but it does provide an elemental damage bonus, and if you do not have a Sacrificial Fragments, it is a decent option. The main reason the Sacrificial Fragments is so powerful on Sucrose is because you get that third E ability on an ability that's on a really short cooldown but provides a really high amount of elemental particles that can battery your whole team. The same idea is around Shinku.
Saka, it's Shinchou.
And because Shinchu is going to be
Saka, it's been 8 months. Get it right.
large amounts of energy particles for these characters is going to be awesome. Now, the other thing with Sucrose that I wanted to mention is that on her talent, she actually has one of the weakest, if not the weakest, overall normal attacks in the entire game. Sucrose's normal attacks are so freaking weak, and they actually don't scale well at all. They can see that the damage scaling is really low overall and probably not the best. But the only thing that you get out of it is that each time you auto attack, it can swirl. So if there's a large amount of elements out there, you can constantly create elemental reactions based on the swirl and get large amounts of swirl damage on enemies. Her E ability has a 400% multiplier at level 11 talent, which is basically level 8 with Constellations. And the ultimate ability is going to provide a huge additional elemental damage bonus while also providing the swirl effect too. So you're getting a large amount of extra damage on the Sucrose for swirl effect damage. And if the swirl effect damage from extra elemental mastery goes up, you're going to get even more elemental mastery. So with Sucrose, if you ended up stacking tons of elemental mastery, I believe the max you can get so far is around 900 or something like that. And you can get stupid gains on it. What I did notice about Sucrose for the primary stats for her is I ended up going with like more elemental mastery, and actually when I started going for crit chance crit damage builds, I ended up switching over like big crit chance crit damage pieces, and I tried like a huge crit build on her with like Lost Prayer, and it was okay, and I did try it and it was okay, but like the big damage increases that I saw from my team were definitely from using an elemental mastery build, and I found it to be the overall better build. I've seen a lot of math been done on this, on the topic of Sucrose, and which is better between crit chance, crit damage, or elemental mastery, and it actually comes out to be elemental mastery is an overall higher damage for your entire team versus the actual extra damage that you can get from a crit build from Sucrose. So I agree with the assessment, and it actually, because other characters are getting even stronger, this can be definitely even more true. So the stronger your team gets, the stronger elemental mastery gets, and that makes it better that going forward, elemental mastery will be more and more powerful, especially since all the other characters in your team are most likely with the lower elemental mastery build, and you're trying to work toward the biggest crit chance and crit damage build you could possibly go to. For Sucrose's viability, I don't think that you need too many constellations. The only constellation I think you actually need is Constellation 1. And Constellation 1 is the biggest bump for this character, where it gives you that extra charge for the vacuum field. Now, if you're coupling this with a sacrificial book, book, you end up getting that extra E into the character and makes this character super powerful to get 3 E abilities off, which will give you a 1200 damage gain at talent level 11. So you can actually use animation cancels on Sucrose to even get those even further. So you can see I can drop like 2 E's within a really quick sequence. Unfortunately, though, if you do animation cancels to get the second E off, what happens is that you don't get the elemental particles back, but you do get the damage in, and you may not get the swirl in either. So using animation cancels on Sucrose is kind of a double-edged sword, and I don't really recommend it. Other constellations for Sucrose just improve the duration of your ultimate ability. The Constellation 4 is really good for main DPS Sucrose, but when I did use it on main DPS Sucrose, I really felt lackluster, and I did not feel like this was a really big constellation or a helpful constellation at all. I think this should be a buffed constellation, honestly, and it should just be the flat 7 seconds after 7 normal attacks, because or just reduce the cooldown entirely. I just think that this is kind of a shitty constellation. The Constellation 6, where you boost the elemental absorption damage that you're going to get, so whatever element is absorbed within Sucrose Scroll gets boosted by 20%, is kind of cool. It's cool for like showcasing and stuff like that, but you really just don't need it. Like, so Constellation 1 is really the only big constellation for Sucrose. So for people that are looking to say, oh, I don't know if she's a free-to-play character friendly or friendly free-to-play, if you do have C1 Sucrose, which you may have by this point if you've been playing for about 8 months, I don't on my Asia account. I don't even have Sucrose, which is big sad. But if you do have Sucrose and she is Constellation 1, then yes, it is a very, very valuable character to build. The other thing, if you wanted to do it, if you did want to, and you don't really care about the elemental mastery gain in your Sucrose, and just wanted to boost your team, I have used Thrilling Tales in the past on Sucrose. It's kind of cool to transfer the attack percentage to a different character, to whatever character you're attacking after the Sucrose. You can then switch and boost their damage by 48%. This has worked for me in the past. It's not a bad choice. So if you're a big free-to-play player and you don't have another option and you don't want to build one of the books from the book prototypes, then yeah, this is a great option. I've tried Blackcliff, Widzith, and I've tried Lost Prayer. I don't really like any of them for Sucrose. None of them really felt like the way. All right, guys, well, my name is Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you have about this character in the comment section down below. If you're going to be building her or not building her, what are you guys going to do? Have a great day, guys. Peace.